Raising teenagers is hard. Understatement of the century. This is Mentor Select. Mentor Select. Parenting teens to be successful adults. Mentor Select serves parents who are raising teens. Every week, Derek interviews leading experts that work with teens, educators, counselors, mentors, and authors to give you practical tips, strategies, and resources that you can incorporate immediately to better connect and understand your teen. All while parenting them to be successful adults, focusing on social and emotional development, something that's left out of the classroom, but not in ours. Be sure to subscribe, share, and rate. This is Mentor Select, and this is your host, Derek Phillips.
Hey parents, you're in for a great treat today. We have Michelle.Duke joining us. She is an assistant principal at Skyview Elementary, which is located in Dallas, Texas, and part of Richardson ISD. How are you, Michelle?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Can't complain, even though it's kind of dreary outside. Been raining all week, but hey, it can always be worse.
Exactly. We need the rain.
Yeah, definitely. It's been a dry summer. So, Michelle, where are you joining us from today?
I am sitting in my office at Skyview still, finishing out my day, just trying to decompress after having 800 kids in class.
Whoa, that's a lot of kids.
Yep.
Indeed. Well, we certainly feel honored that you're joining us. I always say teachers are on the front line, just with first responders. So you're joining us from the front lines.
Yes. Yes.
Indeed.
It's always fun.
Yeah, I'm sure. Well, we know last school year ended kind of abruptly as far as in-person teaching due to the pandemic. I guess we can start off by telling us just how this new school year has started off. And
surprisingly, it's been really better than I anticipated. We ended last year and not knowing what this year was going to hold, and with the kind of partial ending of last year where everybody was just feeling their way around it, we ironed out a lot of the kinks in some of the things that we had. So that was made this year a little bit easier. But then everybody starting out, we did the first 3 weeks of school this year all virtual with everybody.
Okay.
And so that was, the first few days were hard, making sure everybody's technology worked and everybody knew how to get into Google Classrooms, and with not having a meet the teacher night and all of those different fun things, it was definitely an adventure to get everybody logged on. And then, of course, Zoom had their worldwide outage, like day
perfect
2.
Timing.
So that was always fun when they're calling, and we can't blame the school on that one. That was worldwide. So that was fun. But once parents kind of got a handle of the virtual, then everybody came back or a good portion of our Richardson students came back to school. Here at Skyview. We are right at about 50% still virtual, and 50% came on back face-to-face. And Richardson did a great job of keeping things safe for the kids and really putting some practical things in place for all students and for being face-to-face to keep everybody safe.
Wow, that's great. Yeah, definitely safety first, but you have to still educate our little ones, our kids.
Absolutely.
That's great. But I love what it demonstrates in terms of just how you are able to adapt. And like I said, I'm sure there's a lot of kinks in the beginning, but hey, that's part of the process. Now you all have adapted and still evolving, but hey, still doing what you need to do, remaining safe and educating. So
absolutely,
that's very important. Well, Michelle, I'm curious, how long have you been an educator?
This is my 22nd year in education.
All right.
I have kind of run the gamut as far as being in education. I've started out in younger primary grades, worked my way up and to have taught all the way up through 6th grade, and then was a specialist and an assistant principal. And so just kind of, I've taught just about every elementary grade. But the older teenagers are kind of my heart. So
Wow.
love those
Cool.
guys and their smart aleck attitudes most of the time.
It takes a special person to deal with those teens and preteens.
Yes.
Yes, indeed. Well, yeah, you're certainly in the right place today. We got the right person. You can give us some good insight on how to deal with those preteens. And speaking of them, how are they adapting to the virtual learning?
It's very interesting. A lot of them having to do with where our particular school is located, a lot of their parents are putting a lot of pressure on them.
Okay.
And I don't think it's what the kiddos expected it to be, because with mom and dad, with them having that option, a lot of our kiddos, mom has had to take, or dad, single mom, single dad, have had to take reduced incomes because of jobs. Right. And they have had to many times give up babysitters and things like that. So a lot of times our older kids are home with younger siblings while mom goes to their job. And so they're like, wait a minute, now I've got to do schoolwork and I've got to babysit. And so it's not been, I think, what some of the students and our scholars expected. I think they thought it was going to be fun and games like it was in the spring when everybody didn't know what was happening. And well, my teacher's going to give me a lot of computer programs to go on, and it's not going to be a big deal. And now we got to work. We got to teach now. And so it's, I think the scholars are ready to, the ones who are virtual are not enjoying it as much as they thought they would.
Yeah, I can imagine that age. I actually enjoyed going to school then and being with my friends, and it's kind of a break from the home life, especially. I didn't think about that. A lot of them are probably having to balance doing schoolwork now and being a babysitter.
Exactly. Wow. And I think mom and dad's giving them some chores to do. You're home all day.
Chores on top of that. Wow.
So why don't you do a load of dishes? Why don't you throw some laundry and kind of things? They give you some things on top of that, and that's not what they signed up for. And they're like, okay.
Please, do we want to go back?
Exactly. Exactly.
That definitely provides some good insight. In addition to that, outside of just the virtual learning and pandemic, I know teens, they just face a lot of challenges that maybe their parents are not aware of, maybe just not privy to. What are some challenges that you see just a lot of teens and preteens facing and struggling with?
Well, I think through the pandemic, what I've seen in just my youth I work with at church, as well as just our kiddos around here, is just they're struggling with that need for socialization.
Yeah.
And because they're not getting that, they're looking at different avenues to socialize, and they're not always the healthiest avenue for them to go to. So they're having to really be careful, and parents are having to really monitor what they're doing, and especially online. I know my church group, they've had a lot. Parents are really struggling with that. I don't hear as much about that from our school kiddos, but I think it's more because it's happening at home. It's not affecting school as much right now with them, and parents tend to separate those two things. As a whole, we don't want the school to know our dirty laundry what's happening at home. And so, but church, they don't mind. And so they're like, the kids come and tell you, I got in trouble for this, or, my mom caught me doing this. And so I've heard a lot of that from the kids at church and stuff. So
now when you mention, I can imagine all of the things online that can be, just maybe not the best avenue or place to do. So what are some of those things that you've seen where maybe they are getting kids into the trouble as far as with online?
The biggest thing right now, because it's the hot thing right now, is the whole TikTok movement. That's
Yeah.
really gotten
Yeah.
because there's a lot of funny stuff. I mean, I watch TikTok stuff, and there's some great stuff. I try and do all the fun dance moves at times, and see if I can figure out how to learn that dance off this and that.
Yeah.
But it's the is it inappropriate? A lot of times, inappropriate dancing or dance moves that are not age appropriate that we don't want our girls doing,
Right.
that just come across, or they're creating their own TikToks and putting them out there with their dance moves that they're in their cute little shorts and their tank tops, and that just aren't. They're cute, but they're not. The world doesn't need to see them, kind of thing.
Not age appropriate.
And so that's been the biggest thing that I've seen, is just most of them are getting in trouble for either watching somebody's TikTok that just is not appropriate, or creating ones that mimic those.
Yeah, that's a good point. My wife likes TikTok, but some of the stuff I've seen on there, I can certainly see that's not age appropriate. Then you mentioned like the different type of dancing, and then also maybe the type of music too that they're seeing on the videos, the lyrics. So yeah, that's good insight for parents to be on the lookout for. Right. But yes, obviously at that age, we all need socialization, but certainly at that age, socialization is like their world. What are some positive things or some ways that parents can help their kids socialize in a healthy way?
Well, I think what I've been encouraging parents, especially like I said, at church, is where I have more of my older teens that I work with, but and my preteens even, is just doing family game things, whether it be family game night once a week, just things to engage with your kids. And sometimes it's just, I tell parents, if they're into the TikTok, make a TikTok video with them, do those things with them. And I know there's several different TikTok people out there, the sites where it's families doing things like they're recording songs together that are just karaoke type songs, and they're doing it together. And so I've just encouraged them, make those, if that's what your child's into, make those videos with them, because they love to see parents make fools of themselves and then share it with all their friends.
Oh yeah.
And so my 21-year-old especially, who they're just like 15, 16-year-olds still. They love to show their college friends what mom and dad are doing. Oh my gosh, can you believe my mom did this? And so they love to tell all those stories.
Get a good kick out of it. Yeah. No, I think that's great advice. And it's something that I commonly hear from my guests, is just that involvement, parents getting involved in what their kids are interested in and just doing things together as a family, just how important that is. So certainly whether it's TikTok or family game night, just getting involved, hands on.
Exactly. We even, my 21-year-old and my husband, they're better at it than I am, but they do a great job of the two of them. They have this ongoing dad joke party and she's in Missouri in college, and they are constantly sending each other TikToks back and forth with dad jokes. And so that's their thing, to see who can come up with the best dad joke on TikTok. And so I'm like, okay, y'all have fun with that. And so, but that's been, just doing things like that to even try and stay involved when they're not right there in front of you all the time.
Right. Yeah. It's just bonding, certainly reinforces their relationship and builds trust and all that good stuff. Cohesiveness. Love it. Now, I want to talk more about Skyview. That's a school in my neighborhood. That's how I met you. And what impresses me a lot about Skyview is just its diversity and just the makeup of the school, especially with everything going on now with a lot of social justice movements and just equality, things like that. I think Skyview is a good example of just how a lot of different races can come together and work together well. Just tell us more about Skyview and what makes it unique in that sense.
Well, I think for Skyview, the thing that makes Skyview the most unique is, like you said, the number of different nationalities that we have. We house a lot of the refugee population in Richardson ISD. We have the most diverse school in elementary school within the district as far as number of languages outside of English or Spanish. We have approximately 36 different languages spoken on campus.
Wow.
And yeah, and so it's always a challenge, but it's very interesting because some of the keeping things where we don't cluster in our own likeness, I guess, for lack of better words. We don't, our Arabic speaking students we try and get them to mingle and associate with students that are Hispanic and become friends with them. And they do a really good job of that. It takes a little bit of time, but we spend 30 minutes every day of our day here at Skyview. The first 30 minutes is dealing with social emotional learning
I love
and
that.
teaching our students how to greet one another, how to proper greetings, manners, because they don't know that. Our students who were raised here in the United States, some of them had good teaching at home, some of them didn't. So
Right.
it's good for all. But when they practice those skills within the classroom, they start to realize I can be friends with anyone in the room who doesn't necessarily look like me.
Right.
And that's been a big part of it. And we've really had that culture shift of inclusiveness across campus the last couple of years. And it has been it's been amazing to watch and to see these kiddos not only learn and grow academically, but to watch them go from where you couldn't get them to say a word, even in their own language, to now you can't get them to stop talking in English.
So that's a beautiful thing to witness.
It is. It
A
is.
transformation. Wow. Yes. A
Yes.
great way to knock down those barriers and just overcome those maybe just perceptions or stereotypes that,
Absolutely.
yeah, love it. And I'm a big advocate of just that incorporating social emotional learning into our education system. Is that something that you found is kind of unique to Skyview, or is that something where it's more schools are incorporating social emotional learning?
Last year, I believe it might have been the year before. I can't remember. The state of Texas said we had to do some kind of social emotional learning within elementary schools. That was mandated by the state. But Richardson had started it before that, long before that. You just had to have a specific curriculum starting a couple of years ago. So we use a curriculum called Second Steps. But some of the pieces that at Skyview that we have done are unique to Skyview as far as like teaching the greetings and different things like that within the classroom. Like every classroom in our building has someone who is a daily classroom greeter. And when a
Okay.
visitor comes to the classroom, they get up without the teacher saying and come greet the visitor, and basically building some of those soft skills that we need in the business world. Because that was one thing we were finding is that even some of our young millennial teachers don't have the soft skills needed.
Right.
And so we've been able to incorporate some of those soft skills that they need to get jobs as teenagers, because they don't have those skills. They're not being taught those skills anymore. So some of those type pieces are unique to Skyview because we know that, we would love for every child to go to college, but we also know that just getting into college doesn't get you the job.
Right.
And sometimes because of your background, how how you've grown up, you have to work. You need some additional skills
Right.
in order to get those good paying jobs and be successful. So those are some of the basic things that we've started at a very elementary level to help our preteens, especially our 5th and 6th graders, to advance in that regard.
That is wonderful. And those soft skills, I think, have just traditionally been kind of underrated in the education field, where focus on the math, science, and the tests, but not necessarily those soft skills that, in many ways, can be just as valuable. Because
Absolutely.
if kids don't know how to communicate, don't know how to greet, just things are so important to excelling and being successful, then they're at a disadvantage.
Absolutely.
Speaking of like some of those soft skills, what are some ways that parents can help those kids develop those soft skills?
My philosophy has always been, and I even have it with my own children, is to give them opportunities to do it. An example would be, this is with my older teenager, my 22-year-old, who bought his first car himself yesterday.
Oh my!
And mom and dad, guided him where to go and that kind of thing. I spoke with the salesman before he went in and met the person. And I said, listen, I need you to make him ask the questions, make him bargain for the car, go through those pieces. I said, he needs that experience to be able to do that. He needs to learn how to do that. We're not going to go with him to walk him through it, but we're going to be there on the phone on standby for him to ask us questions. But we also need you to, walk him to kind of be that hard-nosed sales guy. So I think sometimes just letting your teen experience that is one of the best ways of just life experience, but give them those safety nets to be there for, hey, if it doesn't work, I've got your back kind of thing. But I need you to take on that responsibility and be the adult or be the young teenager and having those experiences. I started my kids young with when they were about in middle school, where they each got part of the grocery store money each week, and it was their responsibility to go to the grocery store, plan the meal, go to the grocery store, buy the ingredients that were needed, bring it home, and cook the meal for for our family that week, or one night that week. And they alternated nights and did it once a week, and to where they knew my son knew how to cook, my daughter knew how to cook, they knew how to go buy groceries and not buy junk food.
Right.
And that you have $20 to cook dinner for all of us on. What are you going to plan and buy, and how to stick to that budget? So just giving them lots of little life experiences is probably the best advice I have for helping them become productive citizens.
Wow, I love that, and I totally agree. Just every opportunity is a learning opportunity, and parents being intentional about giving their kids that experience is invaluable. And I think that's a great example of, say, your 22-year-old teen.
22. They say they have. Everybody tells me they don't become true adults until they're about 27. So I'm like, okay, I got 5 more years.
That's definitely true for men and boys. I would say, about 26, 27. It's hard to click for us, get a little maturity. But that's a great example of, like you say, you all provide him that experience, but you have the safety nets. You're there if he needed help, but he needed to get that hands-on experience versus mom and dad going and buying a car and doing all the negotiating and just robbing him of that experience that he needs. That's going to serve him from when he buys next car and so forth.
And you have to know your own child. I mean, my oldest does not communicate very well. He's not a good oral communicator. So that is something he struggles with. And so I purposely have always kind of put him in uncomfortable positions to where it forced him to do those things. And so, because he doesn't communicate very well. He had speech delays and things like that he struggled with. And now, but he's been able to develop skills to overcome that. And so, or to cope with it. I don't know that it ever goes away, but, just skills that can help him cope with that.
Yeah, absolutely. And something I can relate to is as a kid, I was certainly shy and not a great communicator. And something I didn't really start overcoming until my early 30s. I started being more and more intentional about putting myself in those uncomfortable situations and just getting more confidence to communicate. And practice makes perfect, get better and better. And a big part of it is the confidence, especially when it comes to communication.
Exactly.
And put in those situations. Great advice. Also, I know at Skyview, you all put a big focus on just getting parents involved and having an active PTA. Can you tell us just why that's so important and the impact it has on students' outcome in the classroom?
Absolutely. Yes, that has been one of our big focuses the last couple of years is getting a parent-led PTA. Many times our parents just in general, and I found this in every district I've ever worked in, that parents a lot of times either are super involved when they're itty bitty in their kinder age group and that the littles classes, and then they get real involved when those high school sports come along. But those middle years in middle school and later elementary school and middle school, parents tend to not be as involved. We're just living life kind of with our kid at that point in time. And so that's a big focus of ours is to get our parents involved. We've done things like Parent University because sometimes our parents don't know how to be involved. And our parents need as much love as our kiddos do. So having provided opportunities for our parents to socialize with each other and get to know one another, as well as involved in their kids' school. Really, it models for their child how a lot of those soft skills that I was talking about. It helps them to model for that because then their child is seeing them talk to other parents. And many times our kiddos are only seeing their parents speak with people within their family or close friends or a teacher when they're in trouble. Right. Basically, or something's going on with academics. And so when parents are involved in things that don't have anything to do with I'm in trouble or family, that kind of thing, and their children are seeing that, their children tend to respect whatever the organization that is a little bit more. And so our scholars tend to appreciate their teachers more when they see their parents doing that. And it reduces our discipline problems, not because I think that there's a magic trick in, I can call a parent, I'll call your parent kind of thing. But it's more of I have a respect for that teacher because my mom and dad have a respect for that teacher.
Got it.
And so it's a modeling thing is what I see the biggest benefit of our parent-teacher organization. I mean, teachers always love treats that our PTA gives them and all of that kind of fun
goodies.
stuff. But the reality is that PTA, those parents involved in PTA, really their children are getting the most benefit by seeing the relationship between the PTA and the school and the parents in the school and realizing that it is a team effort and it is a respected institution.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense. And I always believe that any leader, and the parents are leaders of their family, have to lead from the front. As you mentioned, by modeling that behavior and demonstrating to the kids, hey, I respect the teacher, this institute, this school, and everything they stand for. See how that can trickle down to the child. I like it. Cool. Now, as assistant principal, you have to deal with discipline issues. That's part of your role as well, disciplining when kids get into trouble. What are some things you learned over the years, maybe some effective strategies that can help kind of transform bad behavior into or desired behavior that's conducive to learning.
The thing I've learned over the years, this is my 5th year at Skyview as an assistant principal, and the biggest thing that I have learned is just, being intentional and very clear in expectations always makes it so much easier for everybody. For the child to understand what's expected of them, for the teacher, for the parent to realize that this is a respected institution. We're not going to act, our children aren't going to act this way. Our parents aren't going to act this way. We're going to have respect for one another, that mutual respect. And being clear with that, with everyone, and transparent has probably been my biggest takeaway, I guess, when it comes to discipline. That, when you're straightforward, you're honest, you're transparent with parents about what's happening in the school building, and parents do the same with you about what's happening at home, then it becomes a win-win situation for everyone, and the scholar is the one who is benefits the most from it.
Yeah, got it. Absolutely. Yeah, being clear and intentional. That's really important. And that impacts adults' behaviors as well.
Absolutely. I mean, sometimes I say, Mom, Dad, I need you to help us here. And, I'm very clear. This is what we need from you. What do you need from us? And there's those conversations that we have of what is it you need from us, and here's what we need from you.
Yeah, I like that, and see how it can be effective, because it's not just a one-sided conversation or you making demands. Hey, help each other. Help me help you.
Yes.
Fantastic. Now, also, Michelle, one thing I'm always curious about with educators, especially someone you've been 22 years in the game, what do you enjoy most about being an educator?
Oh, it's shifted over the years. I always loving on the kiddos and being a part, seeing that light bulb go off as far as, okay, I finally get it, but also just watching the growth of students over the course of several years is always amazing. I was just talking today about a preschooler that we had that started out that I was like, oh, this is not going to be a good situation, would hang on desk and things and didn't want to leave the building and things like that, and is one of our brightest 4th graders now.
Wow.
And, it's neat to watch and see those amazing growth spurts as far as behavior, just seeing them grow into potentially great young men and young women is probably the biggest benefit. And then the further I get along in the administrative role, I love seeing the growth of teachers as well, and seeing them grow and transition in their learning, especially right now, because the pandemic's been a big learning curve for a lot of teachers.
Right.
And that's neat to get to see that growth not only in your scholars, but also in your teachers.
Yeah, absolutely. That's fantastic. Now, speaking of the learning curve with the virtual learning, what new skill did you develop as a result of the virtual learning?
Wow. Well, I would say I have definitely become much more proficient with Zoom.
Zoom master now.
I don't know about a master, but we're working on it. It has definitely been really just to be able to, there's not as much freedom to just pop into classrooms and things like that with the virtual world. You've got to be even more. I thought I was pretty intentional before, but you've got to be even more intentional, because it's easy to forget the virtual world and just worry about, here's where I am with all the paperwork. Well, now everything's virtual, from signing paperwork that needs to be turned in, to checking in on a classroom, to parent meetings are held virtually. It's just a different mindset as far as that. I've got to stick to a calendar, and I've got to be very intentional with that.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, that's a good skill to further develop, being more intentional.
Yeah, that's my word of the year is being intentional, because I can't wing it. I can't just let life happen. I've got to make life work in this new world.
Love it. Yeah, my word for 2020 was focus. So yeah,
there you go.
You have to, certainly. Well, Michelle, you've given us a lot of great advice and just practical strategies and tips that parents can incorporate starting today, which is wonderful. But as we get ready to close out this interview, is there any closing words of advice you want to leave the parents with?
No, just love your kiddo, love every minute with them, but give them boundaries. They're still kiddos, and they need boundaries, especially those teenagers. They're going to push them. But if there are no boundaries, then there's nothing to push, and they learn nothing from it. And so giving boundaries is, and just being intentional in those boundaries that we set up with our kiddos is probably the best advice I could say for any parent, no matter what it is, the situation.
Yes, fantastic advice, certainly. And certainly just want to applaud everything you do as an educator. And I think parents, a lot of times being an educator is a thankless job, but I think a lot with the pandemic, and parents have to fill that role as being an educator. They realize now just what you all do and how important it is. So hopefully,
Absolutely.
Yes, it's easy to criticize until you're in those shoes. So hopefully,
exactly. But we wouldn't change it one bit. And so we love our parents, and we know parents are doing everything they can. And so we appreciate them through this time.
Yeah, absolutely. Teamwork. Well, again, thanks, Michelle. And I hope you have a great school year, and certainly looking forward to seeing you soon.
Well, all right. Well, we look forward to seeing you too. And thank you for the opportunity.
My pleasure.
You've been listening to Mentor Select. Mentor Select. Parenting teens to be successful adults. Hosted by Darrich Phillips. Raising teenagers is hard. Understatement of the century. We get it. That's why Darrich interviews leading experts that work with teens, educators, counselors, mentors, and authors to give you practical tips, strategies, and resources that you can incorporate immediately to better connect and understand your teen. That's why we do the show. Be sure to share Mentor Select with other parents of teens. Follow us on social media at Mentor Select to stay up to date on the latest tips, strategies, and resources for parenting teens. Send your questions and comments to darrich@mentorselect.com. Tune in every Wednesday for new episodes. Till next time, this is Mentor Select.